Jackson State and Alcorn both make the top 8 for a 4-star prospect out of none other than the state of Mississippi. Let's talk about it and what could happen leading up to National Signing Day. He's a senior too, by the way. Let's talk about it. What is up, everybody? What is up, everybody? My name is JeffLightsyJr. This is the JeffLightsy Jr. YouTube and the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on JeffLightsy Jr. YouTube. I got to get that right somehow or another. But today we're here to talk about a top prospect out of the state of Mississippi, and he is considering none other than Jackson State and Alcorn as he lists his top 8 with some heavy hitters. Now, the two SWAC schools are in competition with some really notable Power 5 schools out of the Pac-12 and the SEC and so on and so forth. Let's take a look at it. The young man goes by the name of Caleb Bryant, a defensive lineman out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. And as you see, here's his top 8. Here's Caleb's top 8. You got Oregon, Pac-12, USC, Pac-12, Jackson State, Nebraska, Big Ten, Mississippi State, SEC, Alcorn, Miami, ACC, and Missouri in the SEC. As you see, the two HBCUs in his home state of Mississippi make the list along with another home state school in Mississippi State to go along with ACC school Miami, SEC schools. Well, Mississippi State and Missouri are both SEC schools. Nebraska's out of the Big Ten and two Pac-12 schools in Oregon and USC. Now, Caleb is a baller. That is the only way to put it. Let me go ahead and show you some of his highlights from his highlight tape. As you see, 6'3" lineman, says he's between 240, 250 pounds, number 45 for the Vikings. And look at, the first play on the highlight tape, I had to pause it because I want to make sure you see this. Oh my God. Look at that poor running back. Number 45 in the green just comes through and wrecks it. Number 45 in the white, once again, a poor running back ends up on his back going backwards. This is the type of playmaker that any and every college program loves to have at the defensive line position. Chasing down quarterbacks, making them feel him, taking them all the way to the ground. Just a really tough and gritty player. And Caleb Bryant out of Vicksburg. Now, he's a 4-star prospect according to On3. On3 has him as a 4-star player, the number 6 ranked player in the state of Mississippi. As you see, a 90 overall grade. Their consensus has him as a 3-star player, but they have him as a 4-star player on their site. And you see, some of the schools, he was originally, if I'm not mistaken, he was originally committed to Utah. So going out west isn't out of the play for him, or maybe it is. Maybe that's not why he's going to Utah, but he decommitted from Utah. Some of these schools that are listed on his On3 profile, they're no longer in the mix. We know who the top 8 are. We know, make sure. Oh, you can't even see what I'm looking at. Sorry about that. But let me go ahead and share my screen. Make sure you're seeing that. Like I said, out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. 6'3", 250 pounds. As you see, he's a 4-star player on On3. Consensus, they have him as a 3-star player. But if you look over here, they have him prediction to Utah. That's because he was originally committed to Utah. He's no longer committed to Utah. And maybe, he clearly likes the West Coast or something about out west. That's why he has Oregon and USC. USC with Coach Lincoln Riley making a playoff push right now. That's stiff competition. Oregon making a playoff push. One of the best teams in the Pac-12, that's stiff competition. But maybe he wants to stay close to home. And maybe that's why Jackson State and Alcorn both have a chance. But that also puts Mississippi State in the mix. You got to be aware of that. Now, but there is something worth noting with Mr. Caleb Bryant, because we got to keep it all the way real. And like, hey, Jeff, do you think these schools have a legit chance of landing these young men? Well, I want to show you this. This was something that confirms at least in the past, he was supposedly at the Jackson State Alcorn game. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, by the way. Hit that like button, As you see, one of his buddies, Amarian Blake, a three-star wide receiver, said back on October 20th he was going to, this was a month ago, said he was going to visit Alcorn State. And Caleb made a visit to Alcorn State. Said, see you there, bro. So there was that. And then there was also this. And see, these are things you gotta pay attention to when you're talking recruiting, because if a kid never makes a visit, I mean, besides the COVID stuff, right? But if a young man in not post-COVID world and even pre-COVID world, if they hadn't made a visit to your campus, there isn't a very good chance that you're going to land them. Like the chances of landing them are a lot more difficult. And it looks as if Mr. Bryant made a trip to Jackson State. As you see, JSU. It was the game for the Redout. He says, JSU, we here. This was back in September. So he made his trip to JSU. And he allegedly made his trip to Alcorn. It wasn't a similar video from the weekend he traveled to Alcorn, but he said, see you there. So he's made a trip to Lorman. He's made his trip to 1400 Lynch Street. These are the type of players that you build depth with in the trenches. These are the type of players that Coach Prime has talked about wanting to go out and get. These are the type of players that make drastic impacts on your team. These are the type of players that builds that depth and helps you go and be able to compete at the highest level against the top-ranked teams in the SWAC, against the top-ranked teams in HBCU football, against the top-ranked teams in the country as far as FCS. So this is what Prime is trying to do and build, and Caleb Bryant would be a massive, massive piece at 6'3", 250 pounds, and making plays like the one we showed on his huddle tape. Making those plays. Let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Caleb Bryant, 6'3", 250-pound lineman out of Vicksburg, Mississippi. I remember when I talked to the guys from the Uncorked podcast, the James guy, shout out to James. One of the things that he didn't like was that there weren't enough Mississippians on the JSU roster. Well, Mississippi, I'm not putting it on the kid, but this is Coach Prime's attempt and Coach McNair's attempt to get more guys from the state of Mississippi on their roster, specifically talking about JSU. I think they got a decent amount over there at Alcorn. Leave your thoughts in the comments down below. 6'3", 250 defensive lineman Caleb Bryant, 4-star out of Vicksburg, Mississippi, has a top 8 that includes none other than Jackson State and Alcorn with a host of Power 5 schools. Will either of the SWAC schools be able to land the young man? I guess we'll have to wait and see. My name is Jeff Lightsy Jr. This is the Victory Formation Sports Show right here on Jeff Lightsy Jr. YouTube. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button, like, share, and subscribe on your way out. And I will see you guys next time. Peace.